A couple of weeks ago, um, I spoke on awareness and experiential. Experiential. Um, Bob was on vacation, I think, and didn't get that recorded. That's actually a very important thing to understand, especially if you're going to navigate and understand IST. Okay, so to understand IST, which represents internal system training, you need to understand the difference between awareness and experiential. Um, my introduction to Tai Chi was actually about 45 years ago. And you must think I have this incredible knowledge of Tai Chi. I have some, but I still have a long way to go. During that time, 45 years ago, when I was introduced to Tai Chi as a young teenager, about 18 or young adult, um, taking a course, it was a very good class, but it was more on the form, learning the form, and doing the movement slowly. But it was really just a good seed planted in me. I enjoyed it very much, but unfortunately, I didn't have the maturity to figure out at that time to continue. Probably studying for about maybe 4 or 5 years. So it was just a lot of awareness. I liked to do it. It was very enjoyable. But then only lasted for about 4 to 5 years because my main teacher at that time stopped teaching, and I didn't figure to continue on. And it was a good foundation, but didn't have much information on the internal side of it. So fast forward to 2018, I reconnected with Tai Chi a third time. So the other time was 1999. So from 1983 to 1999, didn't really do too much Tai Chi. Then from 1999 to 2004, I reconnected with doing some Tai Chi again. But it didn't last that long as well, just about 4 years. Um, and then I reconnected in 2018. At that time, something shifted in me in terms of having the desire and the interest to learn it internally. Because even when I started at the age of 18, I did hear the word internal. Because at that time, there wasn't any internet. Had to go to the library, check out a book. Had to go buy a book at the bookstore on Tai Chi. And almost all the books that were out there did have the word internal. I didn't know what it mean other than it was something inside. Had no knowledge of what it represented, what to it, and how to experience that. So it wasn't until 2018 that third time is a lucky charm. Something shifted in me. The reality changed it for myself that I had to pursue it again and give it another go. And I'm glad I did because that really planted the trajectory for me to learn it internally. So because at that time the internet was already out there, a lot more information you can have at your fingertips, and started learning it now through experiential, meaning that it wasn't just knowing that there was something more than just reading it, hearing about it. Now I was experiencing it, and I was seeking teachers out there that taught it not just learning the movements, but trying to understand what internal system represent. So from there, meeting teachers that talked about meditation, and actually experiencing it, learning how to sit, learning how to stand, learning the jongs. Um, I did a little bit before, but only on the surface. Didn't get enough information from the teachers at that time. It just wasn't done in the format that I wanted. But in 2018, when I reconnected with different instructors and Sifus and teachers, specifically, I was looking for that. And from there, I started to experience what was the meaning of chi, what was emptiness. And then finally, somebody talked about song in a very different way. In previous experiences, they just say relax. Well, I was relaxed. I felt relaxed. But then, for the most part, they left out the component and really emphasizing the word releasing, active releasing. And because I didn't do it for all those times, I didn't understand what it meant to internally, actively releasing. And once I started to experience that, it was definitely a game changer. Now I started to do push hands in the way that it was meant to be done. It wasn't pushing, it wasn't shoving, there was no force, there was no resistance. It was purely the idea of how to feng song during two-person drills, commonly known as push hands, but there was no pushing. I started learning how to receive energy, how to release energy, all while maintaining proper alignment, proper posture, and keeping everything and knowing how to take it to the ground. And as I continue to experience internal system, everything started to fit the puzzle. Very difficult in the beginning, uh, because most of the teachers that I had, they spoke only Chinese. I could speak some Chinese Mandarin, but I'm not fluent. As a result, there's always some loss in translation. So you do the best, you make the best of what you have, and you start piecing things together. Continue asking as many questions as you can. I would take videos of all my lessons with the different teachers, go back, review them, and start to try to figure out why is it taught this way, how to do it, and continue to ask how to do it. And then more and more, I started to experience the benefits. Somehow I felt I could connect to the ground more. Somehow I felt my mind becoming more 静下来 in the present moment. And as a result, I'm learning IST through experience. So as a result, it becomes more and more imprinted into my DNA, so to speak. You can feel it. You can understand how energy is moving internally. So all these things that I'm saying, I talk about it all the time in the classes that we do, both in person and online classes. But there's still some limitations because it takes time to develop the experience. You won't get it right away. And it all depends on how often you practice during the week. Are you weekend warriors, or do you do it every day? So if you can do it every day a little bit, and then find training partners that you have that are close to you, start working on two-person verification drills, then things begin to merge more and more, and you start to, piece it together where you're learning IST through experience. You could read on it all day long. You can watch videos. quite often. You can even write a little bit about it. Those are important in the bigger picture, but it's important that you apply everything you do in what you do, read, write, see in the solo training as well as the two-person training, two-person verification drills. So those all play a part in terms of just only having awareness, which I have for many years. But the idea of internal system training was very elusive for me, probably more than over 30 years. Still didn't understand it. But of course, I stopped for a long time. But now, because of the information, learning from different teachers, applying the information that I'm getting, doing it in real time, doing it in the present moment. Now, the idea of what IST represents is more and more clearer. And as I've said, once you make the progress, once you make you have those aha moments where you start connecting more and more, it starts to pick up a lot faster. Doesn't mean you're learning it faster. It's because you start to feel that internal system experience. And as a result, everything that I say, everything that you're doing individually begins to make more and more sense. In the beginning, it's not easy to gather all this information. And in fact, a lot of teachers, my guesstimation, they don't want to teach the way I'm teaching because there's just too many moving parts. And out there, because it's done more of just doing the form and maybe doing some warm ups, you're done. A lot of classes are simply just maybe 1 hour long, give or take. You do the form, you do some warm ups, you're done. There's not two-person drills. There's not a lot of discussions on what we're doing now. So as a result, you don't get too close to what IST represents. But because that's where I'm going, that's what I want to share. I want you to have more than just awareness. I want you to experience the internal system training and what it represents. Only through that you understand the essence of what they talk about in the books. And then when you see all this information online right now, like people talk about, Phoenix Mountain Tai Chi, which is very popular now. And there are other groups out there that are pretty good. When you watch those videos and what they share, you'll know how to make connections to what they're saying. Okay. Without the IST, you understand very little bit because you don't experience it in your own practice. But when you watch it now, you'll be able to even figure out what they're doing, a lot of it over time as you continue to practice. So again, in summary, today what I talk about is awareness versus experiential. The awareness is still important, but you got to take it to the direction of you need to experience it. Okay. And that's through the application of each practice that you do session by session. And when you do that over time, you'll understand IST, not just from an intellectual, cerebral type of understanding, but you'll understand it from through actual real time experience. And that's very important in the totality as you get into your first year, second year, 5, 10, 15 years. It will be very different in each stage as you go forward. Okay, so enough about that. We do have a few minutes to entertain any questions you might have on what I just talked about, any clarification, something in your own practice that you need more for me to break down on. Okay, I'm here at your disposal.
I got a general question on the Peng Lu Jian. Don't have to do it now. You might want to think about it, but can you break down a little bit the movements, what's happening, where the energy is moving, how it's moving? kind of differentiate between the four?
Okay. I've actually talked about that before, but I'll talk about it again. And I will again in the future as well, because it's constant reinforcement even for myself. So again, in how those four energies are described, it's the four energies that are the most prevalent when you're doing the form, when you're doing Tai Chi. And to understand it, you need to recognize how it feels internally when it's happening. Um, in the beginning, you won't feel it too much simply because you're still developing your song, your tone, and your home. The more song you become as you do active releasing, the more tone you become as everything is moving, the big cycle, everything is just opening, and there's a lot of internal motion happening inside. And when you become more empty, which is another higher stage of the internal system development, you'll feel the Peng Lu Ji An more so. But you ask, why are we doing it now? You need to plant a seed. That's why. Because those four energies, when you understand it as you make the progress, you will know what Peng represents, because the Peng energy is really the expansion. You actually feel it all the time. If you don't feel it now, it doesn't mean that you're not getting it. You're just not at that level. But you have to have direction to go somewhere. Because if metaphorically speaking, you have a ship, well, I'm going to this location, right? At least you know you're going in that direction. You may not get there yet. It may be far away. You can't even see it. But at least you know it's in that direction. So with Peng, you know that if you don't feel it, not all the time, but or occasionally, you know it's a feeling of buoyancy, a feeling of expansion. Why? Because you're always sinking. When you're always sinking, you always feel this expansion. It happens at the same time. Uh, but again, it's contingent upon your foundation of Song Tong Hong. Okay? And this buoyancy, this expansion, is also part of what I call the Peng Shield. Because if I touch you and you don't know how to take it to the ground, that means that it's already stuck at the point of contact. And this Peng that you have that becomes more developed, once I touch you, if I feel the quality that's going to the ground, then I can't find you, because you know how to redirect that energy internally. So that's the feeling of Peng. It's this buoyancy, this internal balloon that's always expanding, contracting. It's a very nice feeling because there's a constant release to that. Lui is rollback. That's yielding. See, in the form, you're constantly doing yielding, right? You can do ward off, but then you'll come back, sit back, turn, and press. So you're constantly yielding. And that feeling of yielding is important, because without yielding, how can you rebound the energy correctly? So that's the constant sinking to guide the energy to sink. And you have that development more is because when the 2-person drill, if I'm giving you energy, you know how to take it down, apples for apples. And one thing that you develop in the Lui, which is the rollback, is COP. That's the consistency of pressure. Okay. Right now in class, most people cannot do that yet. Once I touch you, there's tension. I feel